was deeply hurt by Femi and Toba. Fueled by anger, she began to destroy everything in her house. She felt betrayed, thinking she sacrificed so much for Toba, and now she has neither a man or money. She said to herself it would be better if Femi died so they could be. Even she vowed not to let them be happy, believing that if she had no husband, Toba shouldn't have either. Femi promised Toba's family that he would come to their village in days' time to take the list and make necessary arrangements. Toba's paternal family were happy, and he gave them a large sum of money to cover their transportation expenses home. This made Tenny very angry and furious because her plans had backfired on her. After Tenny and their relative left Femi's house, Toba confronted him about why he had promised to go to the village and take the marriage list without asking for her consent first. Femi replied, "That's the best thing I could think of, Toba." Toba became angry and stormed out of the sitting room after a heated argument with Femi. Femi went to her room to talk to her, expressing his deep feelings and desire to be her husband. He pleaded with her, telling her that he loved her and promised never to hurt her again. But Toba refused, and Femi, feeling defeated, thought that he would return to his old ways. He left her room, but Toba ran after him, telling him not to go. She agreed that he really liked him too and had grown to love him finally. She agreed to marry him. Hearing Toba's words made Femi incredibly happy. He hugged her tightly and kissed her forehead. Meanwhile, Tenny was at home, worrying about what to do next since her plan had failed. She couldn't let Toba add such a rich man to herself, so she began plotting her next move. Tenny decided to call Toba on the phone to let her know how Femi was hiding a big secret from her. Toba demanded to know, but Tenny said she would give her the whole details later. But this information really got Toba worried. Toba and Femi planned to visit her hometown to get the marriage list, even though Toba was worried. Femi took her to meet his uncle first and other family members. Toba liked spending time with Femi's family. They also welcomed her as well. When they started their journey to Toba's hometown, she couldn't stop worrying. She tried to be happy, but the fear stayed with her. Femi tried to cheer her up, but she felt scared. One day, while Toba was out, Tenny called again. Her voice this time was very serious, and Toba knew something was wrong. Tenny told her that Femi was hiding something big from her, that he had HIV. Toba felt shocked and sad hearing this information, not knowing Femi had kept this from her. She knew she had to talk to him and find out the truth. She couldn't believe without hearing Femi's side of the story. Once she got home, she hurried to Femi's room to talk to him, but as she approached, she overheard him talking on the phone. He sounded very urgent, saying he needed medicine because he was very sick. Toba's heart sank. As she listened in shock, she felt like Tenny's words had been confirmed, and she believed Femi did really have HIV, just like Tenny said. Feeling betrayed and hurt, she quietly retreated to her room, tears streaming down her face. She couldn't believe that Femi had kept such a big secret from her, especially after knowing he was sick. She felt like she had been kept in the dark, and the realization left her feeling broken and alone. Meanwhile, the medicine Femi urgently needed was actually for his uncle, who was too unwell to accompany them for the marriage arrangements. Femi worried about his uncle's health, explaining the urgency to the pharmacist, asking for the medicine as quickly as possible. However, Toba overheard only part of the conversation, and she misunderstood everything. She assumed Femi was referring to himself as being sick and urgently needing medicine. This misunderstanding deepened her belief that Femi had been hiding his HIV status from her. Feeling hurt and betrayed, she couldn't bring herself to confront him about what she heard. She struggled with the weight of emotions, torn between her love for him and the fear of what his secret might mean for their future together. Toba called Tenny and told her that Femi was really having the virus. Even though Tenny knew it wasn't true, she acted like she believed Toba. Tenny told her to leave the house right away because she was worried Femi might give her the virus. Feeling scared and confused, confused. Toba agreed to leave that night. She promised to meet Tenny outside and they could run away together. Toba felt torn between her love for Femi and her fear for her own safety. She knew leaving Femi would be hard, but she was also afraid of what might happen if they stayed together. Toba acted distant and uneasy around Femi. He noticed her strange behavior and asked her what was wrong, but Toba brushed it off and didn't say anything. As night fell, Toba quietly packed some of her belongings and headed towards the door, intending to leave without Femi knowing. However, unknown to her, Femi was outside making phone calls. Just as Toba reached the door, Femi called out her name. Startled, he asked her where she was going with her bags at this late hour. Toba felt shocked and caught off guard, but she knew she couldn't hide the truth from Femi any longer. With a heavy heart, Toba decided to confront him. She told him that she could not marry him because he had lied to her and kept something very important. She accused him of having HIV and not telling her about it despite their plans for marriage. Toba, where did you hear that from? Said Femi. Why didn't you just ask me instead of living like this? Toba replied, Tenny told me, and when I came to your room to ask you, I overheard you urgently asking for medicine on the phone, saying you are very sick. Femi laughed. That medicine was for my uncle. I only called the pharmacy so they could bring it quickly so that my uncle could feel well and join us for the wedding. You trust Tenny more than me? It's fine. You can go if you believe I'm keeping things from you. Just leave. I don't want to be with someone who doesn't trust me. I've shown you how much I care and love you, but you have taken me for granted. Toba felt the sincerity in Femi's voice. Realizing she needed to apologize, she tried to enter Femi's room, but then Tenny called. Toba ignored the call and tried to turn off her phone. She went to Femi's room to ask for forgiveness, but he told her to leave or he will leave instead. Toba approached him and held him from behind romantically, but Femi remained upset. Toba turned Femi around and hugged him, apologizing and promising that the incident won't happen again. She kissed his forehead and reassured him. Femi responded saying, kiss me more on my forehead. I need more to forgive you, you know. Toba, feeling shy, asked, what more do you want? Femi held her cheeks and said, I just want you to love me and trust me. Toba thought Femi was going to talk about intimacy, but he actually said the opposite. Femi assured her, I won't force you. If you want us to be intimate, it will be with your consent. Toba grinned mischievously and said, I give you my consent, but you have to catch me first. With that, she dashed out of the room and Femi ran after her. They played a game of hide and seek and laughter was filling the air as they chased each other around the house. After a while, they both grew tired from the playful pursuit and they sat down together on the couch in the sitting room, holding hands, feeling a rush of affection. Toba leaned in and kissed Femi softly. He responded, their lips meeting in a gentle embrace, encouraged by her boldness. His kisses becoming more intense, each kiss deepened their connection. Toba's heart raced as Femi's hand exported her body, tenderly sending shivers down her spine with whispered words of love. Toba led Femi to the bedroom, their movements filled with compassion and closeness as they gave in to their desires. Their love-making became a beautiful expression of their love and affection, each moment affirming their bond. Meanwhile, Tenny grew tired of waiting for Toba outside Femi's compound. Feeling frustrated and impatient, she decided to leave. Femi woke up very early that day and he made something special for Toba. He decided to make breakfast for her. He went to the kitchen and found some eggs, bread and fruits, and he made scrambled eggs and toast. He also cut some fruits to put on the side. After preparing the breakfast, he carried it carefully to the room. He wanted to surprise her with breakfast in bed. Toba was still asleep when he entered the room. Femi gently woke her up and presented the breakfast to her. She was very surprised and delighted by Femi's thoughtful gesture. They enjoyed the breakfast together in bed. starting their day with happiness. After they finished eating, Femi told Toba they would be going to select outfits for their upcoming wedding. Femi wanted Toba to feel refreshed and ready for their outing, so he encouraged her to take some time to relax before their shopping trip. Toba agreed, feeling grateful for Femi's considerate nature, and settled into the bed for a little while longer. While Femi was on his way to work, he decided to call Tenny and have a serious conversation with her. He wanted her to stay away from Toba and him, as he sensed some tension building up between them. Tenny responded by saying that the only way she would consider staying away from Toba was if Femi paid her off. Shocked by Tenny's demand, Femi asked how much money she needed. Tenny replied that she also wanted to have a one-night stand with him in addition to the money. Femi was appalled and firmly rejected her proposal, telling her she was out of her mind. In a desperate attempt to manipulate Femi, Tenny threatened that if he didn't agree to her terms, he wouldn't be able to marry Toba. She even went as far as saying that Femi should be grateful to her. If she hadn't forced Toba outside that night, he wouldn't have had the chance to see her. Feeling frustrated and angry, Femi couldn't help but express his disappointment in Tenny's behavior. He reminded her that instead of being happy for her sister, she's turning herself into a villain by trying to control their lives in such a manipulative way. Femi let out his sign and hissed, and he ended the call. Tenny called Femi back and did not just want a one night with him anymore. Instead, she wanted to make her pregnant and give her money so she could leave. Tenny said no one would marry her because everyone knew about her past on the streets. She blamed Toba for wanting to leave her behind now that she found someone rich. Tenny threatened to make Femi and Toba's lives unhappy if he didn't agree. Femi was very angry. He told Tenny to leave him alone, and he said he wouldn't give her anything. He wanted her to stay away from Toba. Then he ended the call. Later that afternoon, Femi arrived to pick up Toba. They went shopping for things they needed for the wedding. On the day of the wedding, Femi made sure there were security measures in place to prevent anything from going wrong. Despite Tenny's attempt to sabotage the wedding, Femi's security measures turned all her plans. The wedding proceeded smoothly and Femi and Toba were successfully married. They returned to the city as a happily married couple. Tenny was deeply hurt by Femi and Toba. Fueled by anger, she began to destroy everything in her house. She felt betrayed, thinking she sacrificed so much for Toba and now she has neither a man or money. She said to herself it would be better if Femi died so they could be. Even she vowed not to let them be happy, believing that if she had no husband, Toba shouldn't have either. With a bitter laugh, she expressed her resentment. Meanwhile, the newly wedded couple enjoyed their moment of happiness together as they celebrated their marriage. The following day, Toba woke up feeling very scared. She had a very bad dream and she dreamt that her husband Femi got killed. She shouted out loud and Femi woke up too. He asked her what was wrong and Toba hugged him tight and said she had a scary dream where he got killed. She didn't want him to go out that day. She just wanted him to stay with her. Femi hugged her and told her not to worry. He said it was just a dream and he had to go to work. It had been a month since they got married and he needed to earn money after spending a lot on the wedding. Even though Toba didn't want him to go, Femi had to leave. He promised to come back safely. Toba watched him go, feeling sad but hoping it would be okay. Femi got into his car and started driving to the office. Along the way, he spotted two men fighting in the middle of the road. He honked his horn, hoping they would stop, but they ignored him. Feeling concerned, Femi decided to step out of his car to intervene and separate them. However, he didn't realize that these men were actually goons sent by Tenny. As Femi approached them, the goons revealed guns hidden in their pockets and threatened to shoot him if he didn't follow them. Terrified, Femi complied and followed them. They led him to a secluded area in the bush. Once they were alone, the goons mercilessly beat Femi up while Tenny watched, laughing at his plight. Femi pleaded with Tenny, begging her to spare his life for Toba's sake. But Tenny, fed by anger and resentment, coldly refused. She declared that if she couldn't be happy, then Toba shouldn't be either. With Femi plead for mercy falling on deaf ears, the goons dug a shallow grave and buried him alive. Tenny and the goons then left the bush, leaving Femi trapped in fighting for his life beneath the earth. Two people passing saw what was happening. They immediately rushed to the grave and started digging Femi out after Tenny and her goons left. They walked quickly, knowing that time was running out. Finally, they managed to free Femi from the grave and carried him to a nearby hospital as fast as they could. In the hospital, doctors and nurses worked urgently to save Femi's life. They treated his injuries and worked to stabilize him. Despite the severity of his condition, they were determined to do everything they could to ensure that Femi survived. As Femi lay in the hospital bed fighting for his life, Toba was really worried at home. She couldn't stop thinking about the scary dream she had. She tried calling Femi, but he didn't answer, so she went to his office, but they told her he wasn't there. This made Toba even more worried. She felt like something bad might have happened to Femi. She decided she had to find out where he was and what was going on. Toba called Femi's uncle and shared her worries with him, telling him about the scary dream she had. She explained that she couldn't reach Femi because his phones were off and he wasn't at home or at work either. Femi's uncle tried to calm her down and told her to wait until evening. But as the evening came, with no word from Femi, Toba's anxiety became unbearable. She and Femi's uncle decided to go to the police station to report his disappearance. Meanwhile, Tenny celebrated her victory, knowing that she had caused pain and suffering for Toba. Toba couldn't sleep all night because she was worried about her missing husband. She called Tenny to tell her what happened, hoping for some comfort, but Tenny pretended to be sympathetic, even though she was secretly happy that Femi was gone. The next morning, the police told Toba they found Femi's car on the road and he wasn't there. This made Toba even more scared. She cried and blamed herself for not convincing Femi to stay at home. Meanwhile, Femi woke up in the hospital after days of being unconscious. When Femi woke up, he immediately thought about Toba. He was worried if she was okay. He wanted to get up, but the nurse said he needed to rest. So he asked the nurse her phone to call his uncle. Femi called his uncle and told him everything about what happened to him. He asked his uncle to make sure Toba was safe. His uncle actually said Toba was currently with him at his house. Femi begged his uncle to keep Toba safe and not let her leave because he thought she might be in danger. He also told his uncle not to tell anyone where he was until he got better and could go home. After the call, Femi asked the nurse how he ended up in the hospital. The nurse explained that some people had brought him in. They had found him buried alive, but thankfully they saved him just in time. Femi was grateful and wanted to thank them personally. He asked the nurse if he could meet them, but she said she would let him know if they came around. Femi nodded, relieved to know he had been rescued and eager to express his gratitude to his rescuers. That evening, Tenny called Toba to ask if there was any news about Femi. Toba replied that there was no news yet. This made Tenny very happy, but she pretends to be concerned and comforted Toba. She promised to visit her soon. However, Toba mentioned that she was staying at her in-laws' place, not at home, in case Tenny wanted to come over. Tenny assured Toba that she would visit her whenever she returned home. After hanging up, Tenny couldn't contain her excitement. Seeing Toba in pain brought her joy. "You want to enjoy life when I sacrifice my body for you to eat," she murmured to herself. After a month of recovery, Femi returned to his base. He visited his uncle's place secretly at night, and when Toba saw him, she couldn't contain her joy. It was as if her life had returned back to her body. She hugged Femi tightly and asked him why he had left her like that. Femi explained everything that had happened to him, detailing Tenny and her goon's actions. Hearing this from Femi, Toba was shocked that her own sister could do such a thing thing to her husband. After much talking, she took Femi to her room in her in-laws house. There she gave Femi good news. They are expecting their first child. This news brought additional joy to Femi's mind. He hugged her tightly, feeling safe and loved. The next day, Femi, his uncle, and the police went to Tenny's house to capture her. When Tenny saw Femi, she was shocked to see him alive. She asked Femi how he had survived, but he just hissed in response and instructed the police to take her away. Despite her attempt to flee, the police managed to capture her. She then led the police to where her goons were hiding. The police apprehended them all. The case was taken to court, and after much deliberation, Tenny and her goons were sentenced to life in prison. Justice was served, and Femi could finally rest, assured that they would never be harmed by anyone else. Tenny's regret came too late, and she realized she was in the wrong place. Despite feeling remorse for her actions, she understood that her regrets couldn't undo the harm she had caused. Now facing the consequences of her choices, she battled with the weight of her decisions. However, it was a harsh lesson learned too late, and she had to come to terms with the irreversible consequences of her actions. After some months, Toba welcomed a beautiful bouncing baby boy who was a carbon copy of his dad, Femi. Overjoyed by their new addition to the family, Femi couldn't help but appreciate Toba for entering his life and transforming him from a womanizer into a more responsible person. In return, Femi surprised Toba with a big shopping mall fully stocked with goods. Toba was overwhelmed with joy and gratitude, thanking Femi for coming into her life and helping her become a better person. She appreciated that Femi encountered her from a one-night stand, but instead supported her and stood by her side through thick and thin together. They embraced and cherished the love and bond they shared as a family. Beautiful people, this is the end of the story. I hope you really enjoyed it, and I hope you learned one or two moral lessons. One of the lessons I want you to hold from this story is that whenever you try to bring someone down, just know and remember that it is going to backfire whether you like it or not. When you give hate, you will get it in multiple folds, and when you give love, it is going to be multiplied back to you. And you know what? Just be happy for the other person. We all go through tough times in life. We all pass through challenges, but if you see someone happy, it doesn't mean that your happiness won't come. Just be a good person and be good to everyone regardless. One good turn deserves another. Thank you so much for watching. Please tell me the moral lessons that you have learned from this story, and also tell me where you are watching from. And just in case no one has told you they love you in a while, I love you so much. Yes, you that you are hearing me right now. I will see you in my next story. Please stay blessed and positive. Bye for now.